Well, it's terrific to see all of you. Thank you so much for coming. There are lots of new faces here. And we are absolutely overwhelmed. This many of you chose to come here in the middle of August. The long days of summer in Vero Beach. We're totally blown away. We were tempted to cancel August and September because we didn't think anybody would show up in the middle of the summer. So this is huge. On behalf of Irina Wolfley and her son Jonathan Buckley, I'd like to welcome you tonight. Irina is the creative power and founder of Let's Talk Vero, and subsequently her son Jonathan and Irina have also created the Vero Minute. So thanks to them, we're here tonight. And we're trying out these new lavalier microphones, so it works.
Yes.
And a nice gentleman up there in the sound booth, he says, I'm gonna keep modulating until you guys figure this out. I said, okay. So in any case, it's great to see you. And may I just ask, how many of you have decided to come here for the first time to Let's Talk Vero?
Wow.
Wow. That's great. And I do know the familiar faces that have been here before, so obviously I want to thank you as much as well. So this is really terrific. All right, so hopefully you'll come back. Obviously, we'd also like to give a shout out to Irina and Jonathan's partner that are part of Let's Talk Vero. So let me extend gratitude to Kimmy Cavani, and forgive me, Kimmy, I've done this now second time in a row, mispronounce your last name, of Joey and Kimmy Seafood Market and Restaurant. Also Austin Dingle of Dingle Architecture, Christine Hughes, Dale Sorensen's Real Estate, Karen Reynolds, Beyond the Trend Marketing, Ed Shanaby, Boulevard Tennis and Vidal Club, and last but certainly not least, Chris Groman, who's the gentleman in the back. He is our photographer, and he puts the videos together that you see always subsequently in the email. So thank you so much for doing that. We're really appreciate it. And as I just met somebody new here a little while ago, and she said, I'm so excited to be here because I never met the mayor and the city manager before. So, the gentleman right here we go. So this gentleman here is Mr. John Couturier. He is the mayor of Vero Beach. And we'll show you the next section. It's Monty Falls. He is the city manager. So he really is the CEO of the city of Vero Beach. I would be remiss if we didn't thank the theater. So since a lot of you have raised your hands, you have not been here before. So the theater likes to obviously welcome you. They're very gracious to offer their space and time for us pro bono. And so the gentleman that runs the theater, his name is John Moses. He is the CEO, and he likes to say, welcome to my living room. The theater likes to think that this is the living room of Vero Beach. And this particular space is called the Wax Stage, which is the small stage, and the big stage is next door. And I'd like you to meet Lori. Lori is the manager of the theater. And she has in her hands tickets.
I do. I have ticket vouchers. This is for our Little Shop of Horrors, which are our first show of the season. It's October 16th. This gives you a discount on the ticket price. This is a preview show. It's something we're doing new this year, just like Broadway. So if you're interested, you can come grab one from me. Our box office is open tonight if you would like to buy tickets to any of our shows, regular price.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So-
Welcome.
It's a Little Shop of Horrors, the first show. So the last 3 times we've been here, the plant has gotten bigger. And I think in September it'll be,
Yes, and the vines.
I mean, and that's why the vines are growing. So if you come in September, I know, feed me, Seymour. So next time the plant will be a little bit bigger, which I thought was really clever. So they're growing vines here to get ready for the big stage coming up. So as you may have read on Let's Talk Vero, this is really one of those things that has just kind of organically grown. Irina and I felt it might be nice to try to offer some kind of a venue to simply have a conversation with us, our community. And so this has kind of morphed, right, over time. And so we welcome you to participate in a friendly conversation. Be nice. And what we like to do is I asked John and Monty just to take 2 or 3 minutes to share with you some of what's important to them or what we may wish to talk about today. And then once they conclude their introductory comments, I will walk around with a microphone, handheld microphone. And so any of you are more than welcome to engage in the conversation. We just need to have the first one to be brave enough to ask the first question. And after that, we are off and running. Now, I told you you're in the Waxlax stage, and so this theater is the largest nonprofit producing theater in the state of Florida. It's been around 52 years, which is a lifetime for a small town theater. It's really amazing. And they're planning to be around 100 years. And so you'll see lots of fun changes coming up. And so they have always a half a dozen shows during the season. And believe it or not, they create everything themselves. They make their own costumes, they do their own staging. This is not a traveling show. So, and the theater is obviously very proud of being part of this community. And they have about 100 employees, and they do about $12 million worth of revenues every year. So it's a wonderful place from a cultural standpoint. And since we have city representatives here, the ground you're on is all owned by the city. So the city owns the land that the theater is on. They own the land that the museum is on. They own the parking lot. That's why it's free parking. And they also own all that green space behind it, right, Monty?
That's correct.
Thank you, sir. Always good to have verification. So we kind of randomly picked some topics that we think might be of interest to start a conversation tonight. So here's kind of a short list. The status of the Three Corners project, JetBlue's arrival, and what it means nonstop to JFK, yes. All right, but I'm sure there's a lot of moving parts to, right?
There is.
You can ask them this question. That's why it's on our short list. All right, the budget. The budget does not get applause. I just thought I'd point that out. All right, the budget. Recent discussion about annexation of South Beach. So for those of you who don't know what that reference is, you may think you live in the city, but you don't. So if you have a Vero Beach address, actually many of you don't live in the city of Vero Beach. And we're gonna have Monty tell you a little bit more about that. They did tell us that 70% of people calling in because they have some complaint to the city actually don't live in the city. And the nice lady from the city has to say, you know what, we need to call the county. Anyway, so Monty and John will actually tell us a little bit more about it. So the annexation of South Beach basically is that part of the island that is the 7-Eleven South all the way down to the county line, just FYI. Then the new millage rate, potentially. Then I read somewhere about a Doge request, and we're not really sure what that means.
Okay.
Okay.
Neither are we.
All right, so don't ask me questions. All right. All right. Updates on the Indian River Mall? Okay. And progress on the Vero Beach Marina. Okay, so that's just, again, just a quote unquote, to basically get started. And I also met just a little while ago, Mr. Mark Litton, and he is the new Economic Development Director for the Chamber of Commerce. And Mark, thank you so much. I'm going to say a couple of things to this friendly crowd.
Yeah, Liz, it's great to meet everybody. Moved down here from Putnam County, Palatka. Probably never heard of it, but it's up by St. Augustine. It's great to be here. There's a lot going on in Vero and Sebastian, and fellows mayor of the county. And I look forward to working with the mayor. Nice to meet you, city manager. We're getting together soon, but thanks for having me.
Okay, thank you. Well, just kind of housekeeping item. When we've done the replays of the videos, we realized that when individuals shout out a question, although the acoustics here are obviously good enough where you could just shout out a question, but we realized that the video feed doesn't pick up the sound. So that's why I'm going to walk around with a microphone. And so you'll just have to ask your question into the microphone. Apparently last time somebody raised their hand, I didn't see this person and he left. So please don't leave. Just like stand up or say, hey, lady, and I'll promise come over. All right. So without further ado, you guys want to flip a coin and wants to go first?
Walt goes first.
Me too, you know.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And again, like to thank Rita and Maribel for putting together this platform. It gives us a chance to exchange ideas and have a conversation amongst the citizens. And that's, in this day and age, I think it's very important to establish that kind of a dialogue. Because that's how things get done, that's how ideas get exchanged, and hopefully make a better Vero Beach. I've been the mayor now, I've been lucky enough and privileged enough to serve the city now as mayor, 3 years, my 4-year, I'm completing my 4-year term now. I'm completing my 2-year terms. And it's been a privilege to serve the city, and we really do have an amazing city here. I'm not just saying that because I'm the mayor. As the mayor, you're supposed to be this year. We understand that. But I think in one of the city our size has what we have at our disposal. You're sitting in one of my greatest assets right here. And FYI, there'll be an expansion of this asset within the next 3 to 5 years to make it, in some instances, we'll say even better. Then we have an expansion of our museum across the street. And it is already a world-class museum. It's even going to step function better than that. Then you have what's happening at Three Corners, the movement of the wastewater treatment plant to help clean up the ability to a much more strategic location for that type of operation near the airport. And you just have the general entertainment and cultural lines located in a city of 17,000 people in a county of 170,000 people. To me, that's an amazing feat that has been accomplished. And it's basically the citizens, not only the city and the county, and the philanthropy that resides here. So from my standpoint, I do preside over the city council meetings, but I see myself to be the kind of cheerleader for the city, trying to understand what people are looking for, asking for what they want to see their city become. We're really now kind of in a, what do we preserve and how do we transition as we go forward? And that's what I see my goal as kind of a facilitator and a coordinator of what's happening in our city to make sure our citizens' ideas and thoughts are heard at City Hall. Thank you.
So I'm happy to be here again as well. I see a lot of friendly faces. I met some new people tonight. Struck up a conversation with a new friend in the back of the room about Vero Beach High School football. And we've always had a great team. I was fortunate enough to move here 1981. And this same year, the Vero Beach High School football team won the state championship. So I'm thinking, that's pretty cool. And we do this every year. So, but we do have a great program. I know a lot of the coaches and a lot of the guys that are going through there and playing. Some are still here in town and local businesses. But we mentioned the museum and the theater and the parking lot. The parking lot was one of the first jobs I worked on when I went to work for the city in 1991. And I remember having meetings with the panel of both organizations. Says, our patrons are complaining they can't walk in their nice shoes across that dirt parking lot. So we built a nice parking lot. I believe 144 spaces at the time and about 75 trees we planted in that parking lot. But what I didn't know when we started construction was that was an old stump meadow. As we were excavating and put the drainage in, we pulled up old palm trees that had been dumped and hydraulic fill placed over them. So if there's any depressions in the parking lot, it's some of the old trees that are going away. So being the city manager is a really great job, and it's got its high points and low points. Monday is one of my favorite days and one of my worst days. I have to meet with all my council members on Monday. Councilmember Carroll is my first victim, first thing in the morning. He's usually in my office bright and cheery at 8 o'clock. And then the mayor is my last at 2:30, and I have to try to have equal enthusiasm. And we're all working the same thing 5 times, so you always ask the mayor how good that works out. Sometimes I'm sure I'll look like I've been hit by a truck, but most of the time. But it's a great chance to exchange ideas across the table without people looking over your shoulder and wondering what you're going to say. And we have really candid conversations, and I really appreciate the opportunity to do that. So with that, I'll stop. The mayor and I are here, we're ready to try to answer your questions. I don't believe I see any other council members or elected officials, but
Mr. Carroll right here. How's it going?
thank you all for being
The
here.
vice chancellor, who also used to be city council representative, so it's all the family. So who wants to break the ice and ask the first question?
I want you to
Look at that way. Okay.
You're a regular. I gotta take somebody new. I'll be back.
So Monty, this is a question for you. I'm Terry Torres. I live in the city limits. And I understand we're considering an annexation of South Beach. Will our taxes go down?
Well, that's a two-part question. We're not considering an annexation of South Beach. We talked about at the last meeting how cities can grow if you have vacant land around to be an annexed area. And that's pretty easy to do because you're dealing with one landowner. If you have properties that are already developed, the annexation kind of has to be a grassroots effort. There has to be a referendum of the people. They have to have a majority that want to come in. But if you look at the numbers, there is a good possibility that the millage rate could come down if South Beach were to come into the city limits. So yes, that is a good possibility.
So we should push for it, right?
Well, I think everybody should push for it. We serve the South Beach with water and sewer. And we have for many, many years, and that happened at a time when South Beach was just starting to develop. The moorings had its own water plant and sewer plant, but that can only serve so many people. So South Beach wanted to grow. The county at the time wasn't in the utility business, and the city was able to offer utilities to South Beach to allow it to develop in what it is today with Castaway Cove and Seagrove and Shorelands and the moorings, Atlantis. And so we serve with water and sewer all the way down to the county line. We actually have an agreement with St. Lucie County where we have an interconnect. So if they have an issue on their North Hutchinson Island, we can actually send water to them and vice versa, they can do it to us.
Okay, next
Good to
question.
see you, Terry.
Good to see you too.
This question is from the mayor. I don't know how to ask it. I could ask it two ways. I could ask you who's running for the election in November, and are you running for reelection?
Am I? Yes, I am.
I thought so.
Okay. All right. 2 more years. Okay. Here, next question. Thank you.
Good evening. Asking the question about Three Corners and if ClearPath has secured funding. And the status, please.
So
Thank you.
ClearPath has not secured funding yet. As you know, they were selected as the #1 proposer. And we entered into the pre-negotiation phase, which was a 90-day phase where they were to get the additional information to us. It gave them an additional 30-day extension to that. They have asked for that extension and the council has granted it. They are currently in discussions with some of the other team members of the other group. And as of Monday, when our project manager, Peter Polk, spoke to the Randy Lloyd, who is the president of ClearPath. He says those negotiations are moving along, and we should know something within the next week or so. So we're confident that that's gonna happen, and we will enter into formal negotiations with ClearPath or whatever joint venture group comes out of that.
I'm really excited about JetBlue, and I'd love to know what was done to bring them here and how real it is.
If you wanna know what was done to get up here, nothing. We actually, this is, truth is always stranger than fiction. And essentially, you may not know, the original founder of JetBlue is the founder of Breeze Airways. Okay, so just some trivia information just in case you didn't know. So our airport director and his team received a phone call last Monday or so from the chief pilot of JetBlue requesting I'll call them, it's not the official, it's the specifications for the airport. You know, what are the runways, how much weight the runways can accommodate, et cetera, et cetera. And every airport has a set of specifications in case a commercial airline wants to come in. These are the rules and regulations of our airport. Well, within 24 hours, and he was doing it, we are contemplating coming here. Okay, fine. Not the first airline is called and someone gave me information. I told them we were sending them the information. Well, just above, our information is going to them. The phone call happens less than 24 hours later. And they announced, we're announcing this afternoon that we're coming to Vero Beach. Okay, great. Todd did a great selling there. I guess he answered the phone and he answered the phone. See, it always pays to answer the phone. You know, in the average in sales, answer the phone is the first step. Well, there was the first step, we answered the phone. And now, there's a certain specifications they're working, our airport team is working with their team to make sure they adhere to those specs. And they will be beginning service December 11th. And I believe they've released the schedule into this early summer of next year. They're flying down from JFK, they're flying from Boston, they're coming down here. They call it a seasonal schedule, beginning that week in October, November. So it's gonna become a very sleepy little airport, although we're the third largest general aviation airport in the entire state. It now has become, it'll now get, let's say this year. So from King's Airport, King's planning standpoint, we were planning, of course, to, pay over for parking and probably come in plus or minus a little over 200 cars. Well, now, that planning to expand is gonna have to be around 500 cars. So we're in a mode now of getting things together quickly, planning for them to come in Vero Beach, working with them. Breeze does get preference because they do things over there, so JetBlue has to work in with the Breeze schedule on how they're gonna time their arrivals and departures. There's also a renovation to the airport that begins next week. I guess it was September 2nd. They will start renovating portion of the airport. So it's going to be busy. So people going in and out, it may not be as seamless as it has been up until this time because of what's all the activity. Beg your patience. But I guess, Vero Beach got discovered so. And everything that attracted us here, me here, you here, other people have organically spread the word of our city and the surrounding community. And I think it's the lifestyle that we enjoy here, a lot of people are still looking for. And I think that's why people are attracted to our beaches, of course, to the weather, but also the arts and entertainment that are already exposed. And the general people that are here, the attitude and the just general demeanor of all conditions. That's all we're preparing.
So the mayor's right. It's really strange. Over the last year, we've been contacted by 3 other carriers. JetBlue was not one of them. And Monday, we get an email. Tuesday, we get a phone call looking for general information. Wednesday, we get the call that says, hey, we're starting December 11th. So that doesn't give you a lot of time to prepare. What our airport can provide, we have enough room on the ground in front of the terminal for 2 planes at one time, but only in the airport, only for 1 plane at one time. So it's kind of a scheduling issue. And we're working with JetBlue. Breeze was in town over the weekend. They heard the news as well. So our airport staff worked with them over the weekend, and we're going to do our darndest to make it work out. They still have to jump through some hoops and sign all the papers, so everybody knows what's expected of each other. But we're doing our best to make it happen.
That's pretty amazing. Every time I come back from Westchester on the 7:30 p.m. flight on Breeze, it's out in the middle of the summer, so it's all good. It used to be Eastern Airline that used to land here. Did you know that? I just thought to get out of those with me.
What's that?
But Eastern Airline, do you remember that? Here.
Right, on the parking for the airport, is it all the responsibility of the city to pay for that? Or is Breeze and them contributing to that cost of paving it and getting it all together?
All the improvements at the airport are the responsibility of the airport. The city, in conjunction with the FDOT and the FAA, with grants and city portions of the dollars, it's usually 80% DOT, 20% city, or if it's an FAA, it's 90% FAA and 10% city. We will have some times when the number of flights that we start getting will change our grant percentage from FDOT from 80-20 to 50-50. But at that point, we will start charging passenger facility charges. $4.50 will go on each ticket that can then come back and be used for projects at the airport. So that's how those things get funded.
I see this. I promise to go in order as I see her hands go up.
I'm just wondering what the completion date or the anticipated completion date is for the renovation of the terminal.
I believe it's spring of 26. Don't hold me to that. I have a staff meeting in the morning. I'll get an update on that because we just have to start this game September 2nd. They're going to be upgrading the baggage area and then also inside, making the space a little more comfortable for the passengers that are waiting to board and come back in.
Well, it sounds like when we get to the 50-50, the passenger will be adding $4 to the fare or whatever you said for the facility charge. Do you charge an excess for a carrier that wants to come in here? You know, the privilege of being here and operating, why not charge them something to help build the parking lots and the infrastructure included in that?
They get charged as well. They have to pay a fixed cost to use the facility. And then each flight, there's a charge for each flight called a turn. So they charge for that as well.
Okay, somebody raised their hand at public table. Thank you. I should have put on my tennis shoes or roller skates. But it wasn't that smart. So you raised your hand and then I saw you.
Yes, I think she's next. Don't want to take your spot. At the risk of sounding to be a bit of a nudge, when we came home to Florida 13 years ago, 66 was still 2 lanes, now it's 4. You can see the developments that are happening and land being cleared or cleared. I see more airplanes landing and now there's going to be even more. We already have 3 flight schools or 2, they're constantly in the air. My point is, Vero was changing from the Vero that we moved to not that long ago. And are there concerns that we're going to lose our sense of character as a small bedroom community. I'm not quite sure what the right adjectives are, but I feel like we're at risk of expanding and turning into another Port St. Lucie or Fort Lauderdale or whatever, and losing ourselves in that with just too much expansion too quickly.
Well, as I mentioned kind of in that little intro, there's preservation and then there's transition to what's happening around you. The city's landlocked, the city's, kind of capped at almost 17,000 plus or minus people. But what we have to do is, we have to prepare ourselves for what's happening around us. And I believe progressive city councils have made some decisions that actually help us out. Okay, number one is the height restriction. And not only a height restriction, but a height restriction that's incorporated into your charter. Also, about the public parks, every public park is in the charter. Your marina is in the charter. Okay. There are a number of other situations that are charter protected, and that's why it's very important to have this charter that we have. And I think it behooves the cities, the people who elect to sit in my seat and in the other 4 cities, to have the right people in those seats, your elected officials. So understand that the transition into the future is fine. I mean, that's what life is all about. But we've all come here for a certain lifestyle, okay? And there's a way to protect it. And I'll butcher the quote comes out of a book called Ugo Cappato, which is it's the leopard in Italian, which is, if you want things to stay the same, you better plan for it now. So I believe this city council, the one I've been privileged enough to serve on for the last 4 years and being mayor for the last 3, I think we've done that. We've made some difficult decisions. They're not always easy. The 3-quarter situation, the transferring of the wastewater treatment plant, we've carried those projects through. We've gotten some, heated press about the water department and so on and so forth. What we're trying to do with the marina. But we've all done this under the context of what we believe we've heard from the citizens, and including what we're trying to do downtown. Vero's developed a brand, and this brand has multiple phases, and what he was going into this experience of people meeting together in 3 different locations. And I think that's the important thing is when you elect the officials or you're sitting in the seat that you're electing people who are going to protect that, and understand what the vision is, understand you have to transition into the future and few things will change, but change within the context of why you're all here. And I think that's my opinion.
And let me add to that. Yeah, as I look back, I see a lot of people that were born and raised here. My friend Jeff Luther back there in the back, he's seen a lot of change as much as anybody. And I came here in 1981, almost 45 years ago, and I wanted to be the last one. I didn't want anybody else to come. There was a grocery store on US 1 near 12th Street that had a wooden floor in it. So, but I haven't left because it's still a great place to be. And I'm sure a lot of us feel the same way. Lots are concerned with that development. So stay involved. The development is basically occurring outside the city limits. So if you're a city resident, Charleston County resident, talk to your county commissioners, have them hear your concerns. I served on the county's planning and zoning board for 10 or 15 years back before I went to work for the city. And, and was grateful for that. I was able to see how things were going to happen in the future. Am I pleased with all of it? No, but I'm still pleased with enough of it and I'm still here.
That's a nice way to put it. I was my mother-in-law was born here. She's 87 now. And so when the downtown Vero had put the referendum out to try to have some more expansion, etc., so I told her about it. And she just she goes, change doesn't happen fast here. And she goes, I tried that 40 years ago. So, to your point, I think it's been done in a reasonable, measured way.
Hi, so I'm a resident of South Beach. And I clearly understand the benefits to the city in the annexation or potential annexation of South Beach. What I would like to hear from the two of you is specifically what would be the benefit to the residents of South Beach. Because I think all of us are a little bit concerned as to whether or not that is beneficial to us.
So, I mean, if you're a South Beach resident, okay, for where the city of Vero Beach currently sits in its, its timeline of existence and what is happening, we cannot get actively involved in soliciting anybody in South Beach for annexation. The rules of the game set in Tallahassee preclude us from doing it. But if there were citizens who wanted that to happen based on their whereabouts, and it became they work like a kind of an organic thing. They grew up based on the fact that they believed they could maybe get better policing, short-term rental protection is better. There will be a 6% reduction in your water bill because we'll no longer have to pay the franchise tax to the county. Believe it or not, we have to do that. We have to take it to them. And being involved in decisions that the city makes that impact South County. So if there's a group of citizens that want to do that, then it becomes an organic situation for those citizens to petition the city that they want to be annexed. Now, then it goes to a referendum. You are in precinct 34, I believe, and that precinct would vote, that's the voting precinct, that voting precinct would vote on their own whether they want to be annexed. Now, from the city standpoint, you can't get involved with voting it. We'll get it on the referendum. We'll assist as much as we can from the city clerk standpoint to get it on the referendum to Leslie Swan, the election supervisor. But that's it. And so I don't want the people of South Beach believing like the city's right down here trying to, megaphones, It became a kind of an organic thing that happened where a number of citizens, we'll just call it South Beach. And yes, it comes, would the city entertain annexing? Yeah, sure, of course it would. From a strategic standpoint, the city made a bad strategic decision decades ago, both from the Indian River Shore standpoint. Remember, Johns Island could not have been developed unless this city provided the services to them. Because we're the only guys that held the border, and power at that time.
I think the real question is what would be the 10 things that the city could offer the citizens of South Beach to jump and make us want to.
Short-term rentals. We have a very strict short-term rental laws. Now, that may be an advantage or a disadvantage, depending on which, but we have a very strong short-term rentals policy. They police it very strongly from. And then it's police. Especially at nighttime, there's only one deputy who's on South County and on both sides of the village. So there's one deputy. So there's an emergency and he happens to be on the Indian River side, Boulevard side of this beat. He has to come all the way across the bridge across there. So we believe we can do better policing. And then there's the integration with the city and the decision-making processes that the city has, and then you get more actively involved with those. So those are off the top of my head, the two that come to mind.
The water and sewer too, John.
Yes, water, and you save the 6% off your bill from this, from the county franchise tax.
All right, here you go.
Hey, you finally made it.
Patience is the virtue.
I was wondering if you could share which other carriers are interested in flying into Vero. And then also with more air traffic coming into Vero, will there be a time restriction on when planes can land at night? Because in other words, where I used to live, we had 11 o'clock PM where planes couldn't come in after 11 PM. I'm just wondering if you would consider having something like that with more air traffic.
Well, two questions. We've had three carriers. And as I said, JetBlue wasn't one of them. We had American, Allegiant, and Avelo, and all talked to us within the last 6 months to a year. The question about the airport times, since we take federal dollars to support the airport, we have to leave the airport open 24/7. So a plane can land and take off. We will coordinate our schedule at the terminal to accommodate the commercial flights. The complaints we get about noise are not from the commercial flights, they're from the flight schools. So as you know, the piston engines are, closer to the ground and their activities are that. We have had minimal complaints from the commercial carriers.
I'm okay, so it's mostly the smaller planes.
Hello.
We're fairly new for us, about 5 years. We come from Miami, a very busy city. And one thing that I love about Vero is just the greenery, the small town feel, love it. One of the questions that I had when I first arrived is the mall. The mall is empty. And I know that there's talk about rebuilding that. Is the height restriction is for certain going to be one of the,
Well, this is one of those football analogies. We have to punt.
We got a fund, we got a fund on this one, because believe it or not, it's in the county. The mall is not in the city.
The western city limits is pretty much 43rd Avenue. And our height limits inside the city limits are protected in their charter. The county has some height limits, but they're not charter protected, so they can be changed. I know there's been some discussion about some increased height to kind of encourage some people to come in and maybe build a hotel there. But as the best I know, that decision has said, the county has said no to that to this point.
Gentlemen, everyone, we certainly appreciate everything you've done here for us this evening, this afternoon. My question goes back to JetBlue and do they share any possibility of expanding their destinations out of Vero other than JFK?
That's all market driven by whoever is here. We offer no incentives for carriers to come, which is really strange in the airport business. Most of the airports will offer incentives to get a carrier to come. And as you probably remember, we had a small carrier Elite for a while. They did well when they were here, but I believe Breeze saw the possibility of what could be done. And Breeze came in and they've just knocked it out of the park. They're running about 90% capacity in the planes that come in and out of here, even in the summertime. So that's just crazy.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, for being here today. I'm a resident for 14 years, well, on 15 years. Came from Westport, Connecticut, and stayed. I want to I have many questions from the three corners of the developer, 47 years. And also the fact is there are many questions about that whole procedure of three corners. But the thing that piques my interest is, if I heard you correctly, Mr. Falls, is that the decision for JetBlue to come in was made within 24 hours. Or thereabouts from the first call you got. Now that flight pattern was right over the center
of the city. Did anybody decide to do a noise abatement study first? Are you good? Number one. Number two, what about the possibility of some accident of a plane falling out of the sky? Because the flight plans go right across the residential part as well as Miracle Mile. And there's a safety issue there. Now, I live on Indian River Boulevard, and I see breeze come across at 7:30 in the morning, literally over my complex. I see it land, and all the other private parties that are landing for private aviation the same way. You don't rush into things like that. It's a serious problem as far as possibly all you have to do is pick up the news every morning and see planes falling out here or planes falling out there. What would prevent a plane from falling right in the middle of Miracle Boulevard without doing a study? And if the study comes out, it's just like an RFP. The study comes out, if they can't preclude you from doing that, then we have a problem here. The city has grown dramatically since 14 years ago. And there are good things, as the mayor said, there are bad things. But the biggest problem you have here, you can't do it for the dollar that we're gonna get out of the airline. You gotta do it for the safety of the residents, both short, long-term, and future residents of Vero Beach. And I think that should have been something that put up for a vote. Does anybody want that? Now, I follow the airlines very closely. I'm doing a major project out there in Clinton. It's not in the air, it's not there. But I find it a problem where you have these large carriers coming in, trying to jam in as many stops here as possible. The thing that really has fueled the business out of the airport is one is free parking for 21 days. They're coming in from Miami, from Orlando, they aren't all over. And I go in and out of there to Westchester very often. And the fact of the matter is that we're taking a plan that maybe is better for other commerce for the city. They're building another parking lot. So I think in the future, what is the answer as far as future development?
Well, there's a lot to unpack there in your question. Let me go back to the first one. You talked about a noise study. There was a noise study done at the airport many years ago, and we are compliant with all the FAA regulations. If you'll remember what I said earlier was that the complaints we get from noise at the airport are from the flight schools and not from the commercial aviation. So let's go back. We also said that Vero Beach is growing very fast. You've been here 14 years. 14 years, the population of Vero Beach hasn't changed by 500 people. The growth is around us. If you're a city resident, if you're a county resident, if you're concerned about growth, then talk to your county commissioners about that. Now, we can't stop someone from using our airport. It's a federally funded airport. So if somebody wants to come land an airplane or take off an airplane, they can do that. We can only control it with the time that our terminal is operable. And we don't have to expand our terminal. City council members, I can tell you, we've had this philosophical discussion. What do we want our airport to be when it grows up? There's room to expand at the current terminal to add one more gate, and that's it. To add another gate would require a new terminal to be built somewhere else on the airport property. So that's the discussion that we need to engage our community with. Personally, I think we've got a service that we offer. We can manage the size of the airport by the size of the facility. As I said before, we can accommodate right now 2 planes on the ground and 1 plane in the terminal. If we expanded and had 2 gates, it will still be 2 planes on the ground and 2 planes in the terminal. So not a huge amount that can be done. But let's face it, the free parking is going to go away. You're not going to be able to go out there and park and travel and stay gone all summer and leave your car out there all summer long. You know, that's just not gonna be able to happen. We're gonna have to maximize the parking that we have, and that's the things we're looking at. So if you'd like to discuss it further, I have a business card I'll give you later on, be happy to talk to you about it.
I hope to have.
Grown Vero Beach resident, with a vested love for downtown. So thank you, Mr. Mayor, for mentioning how that is an important key. But I'm talking about the airport. My question is I know that you mentioned that there will be fees that are added to these large airlines in order to pay for the things they need, parking, terminals, and any, additional runway support. What about taxes that go back into the city and that go to places like downtown and maybe Three Corners and Beachside? Is there going to be revenue drop, and have there been any, studies on how it's improving the economic vitality for Vero Beach? So two double question.
Well, the irony of the airport, even though it's the largest private employer in Hong Kong, company is located there in Lakewood. It's probably an economic development person's here, so we can say this, and if I say it, it's probably the economic engine of the whole county is that airport in one way, shape, or form. The airport is an enterprise fund. But it's an unusual enterprise fund because it's not only governed by the rules of enterprise funds in cities, it's also governed by FAA regulations. The FAA does not allow us to transfer money from that enterprise fund into the city's general fund like we do with our other enterprise funds. So there's no money actually coming from the airport, other than it's an economic benefit to the city and the county coming directly to the city but by a transfer. Ironically, though, if there was a shortage, we would have to cover the shortage. Now, and that's just the rules. It's always been the rules. That's the way the FAA ordinance stands.
So if I was to buy an airport, we got one for sale. It's a great business. It makes a profit. It stays in it. It takes a loss. You put money in it. So.
Tom and Sharon Cowan, we've been residents of Vero for 40 years. My question really has to do with the tourist tax. Indian River County only represents 10% of the population of Indian River County, yet the city of Vero, with the tourist tax and hotels and everything, develops most of the money for the tourist tax. Yet they get a very small percentage of that tax from the county to the people of our county. I just wonder, has there been any more talks with the county on better allocation of those funds?
You're exactly right. There's two tourist tax districts in Indian River County. One is the city of Vero Beach and the other is everything else. They're about 50-50, maybe a little more outside of Vero, but close to 50-50. Currently, the city is precluded from even sharing in that revenue because of some policies that the county's making. We're working with them behind the scenes to try to remedy that. Hopefully we can make some inroads. If not, we talk to our local representatives and senators in Tallahassee that have offered to help us with state legislation if we can't handle it at the local level. The first share of the tourist tax revenue that's collected gets used for beach renourishment, which is very, very important. There's two sectors inside the city limits. Sector 5 is the one that runs kind of on the north part of the city. That's going to start back after this turtle season. So we do get some benefit from it there. Then there's some other commitments that have to be made, but then there's some discretionary money that is allocated by the Tourist Development Council. I believe they met today, actually, or today or yesterday. Well, we can't even apply for that money yet. So that's what we want to seat at the table so that we can be able to have access to that tourist tax revenue, because let's face it, the biggest driver of that is what happens in the city limits. And to add to that, Three Corners is going to add somewhere around 225 hotel rooms. We have another hotel looking to go at the airport, probably another 115 hotel rooms. So there's another 350 hotel rooms that are gonna come online that's gonna generate more money in that city district.
That's a great, so the insurance tax or bed tax raises roughly $5 million, is that correct?
That's currently today, that's only.
Okay, and so that 5 million, under current law, nothing is allocated to the city of Vero Beach.
Only what goes into beach renourishment.
Okay,
And typically, the tourist tax revenue is done as the local match to state and federal dollars that are used for beach renourishment.
and would you know of the 5 million of the tax, how much actually was generated by the city of Vero Beach on a percentage basis?
About
half.
About half. Okay,
And it will
all right, let's try to get that $2.5 million.
I've got just a two-part question, very short. Just was wondering what organization or facilities do we have in the city to assist homeless that are living in the community? And then part two is what is the city's position on homeless that have set up encampment on some of the preserved areas in the city?
Sure, okay. That's actually kind of an interesting question. So, we don't have a formal relationship, but we work closely with a place called Source. And I've known him since I've been involved with the city in general. We work closely with them. They helped us when we began an effort along with Piper to try to revitalize Pocahontas Park. We had a meeting with all the stakeholders, because we had, one of the complaints was what you just mentioned, that there were a lot of unhoused people hanging around the park, making it uncomfortable for people like the Buggy Bunch to come over and use the park and stuff like that. So we took a two-pronged approach. Some of it was community policing, but made it a lot of it was with stakeholders involved, United Against Harmony, the Source, a number of other people were involved directly. And the Source actually stepped up, and they worked with our public works department, helped clean up that entire area. And I mean, they took out bags, hundreds of bags of trash out of that. We really helped public works department overcome shortage of personnel, whatever, to make that park clean up. So,
John,
yes.
tell what the Source does.
Yeah, so I was gonna segue in there. So,
A lot of people may not know what.
so what the Source does is actually, it's a ministry of sorts, okay? And they minister to the homeless, unhoused, whatever you wanna call them. And you have to go there and you have to wanna be helped. So they will train you, culinary arts, they have some other little businesses that will help get you earn money, you can earn money. They have their buses, I don't know if you've seen their buses, they have these buses sort of like a throwback to old Pullman cars and train days where they will take homeless people off the street, they can sleep on this air conditioned bus overnight, they can bring the new versions of the bus have facilities for their pets, have facilities for, the clothes cleaning and stuff like that. Plus they can store all their stuff underneath it. It's a very secure and safe environment. It's so successful that the city of Woonsocket, Rhode Island has bought a bus and then delivered them. A city in Minnesota has taken one, Illinois, has taken one. And they just delivered the second bus to Orlando based off this concept. So we work closely with them. They are currently building they've got a ranch that they acquired out like 154th Avenue, which they'll be developing into a place where they can administer their services to the homeless people. And they have a psychologist on board, they have sociologists on board here. And it's all done, here's the key part, this is the most interesting part. It's done with no public money, none from the state, zero from the federal. It's all done by private donations, and even when homeless people sleep on the bus, they have to earn money at doing the different things at the source, and you have to pay $2 a night to stay there. Okay, and so they're promoting self-sufficiency. They're trying to reunite some of the homeless with their families outside. You know, how they got here, and that's one way that we work. You know, that I advocate for myself personally because I work with them closely. We've got the attention of a local congressperson who's going to actually needs to meet twice and maybe having a visit out there soon. So I think it's the approach you take with the homeless population. You know, how do we approach it? Our police department works closely with the source. The source people work closely with our police department. It's not a perfect situation. You know, there's the homeless problem, or the problem, or the challenge. Let's put it that way. The homeless challenge in our entire country. You know, I can't say there are no homeless people, but I think this city is taking a humane approach to the whole situation, trying to understand and trying to work with the ministries and the people who are administering that type of population, whether it's faith-based or not faith-based, excuse me. And I think we've had success here with it. We're not going to cure the problem. Okay.
Let me add to that. We did, through our police department, developed a community partnership unit. So we have officers that are regulars on foot in the downtown area and on the beach side, and they've developed relationships with some of the people that are homeless. And the first thing they do is try to get them help. And that's the ones that you can take from off the street, get them into a program like the Source, and help them out. Some don't want to be helped, but we have proactively done some things at the city. We're not going to allow camping on public property. It's just not, we're not going to do that.
So that's the thing. I guess I was looking at what do you turn to? Is it the police department, or you go directly to the source if you have someone that's on a property, which we do, that's fairly close to our community. So the concern is to get them help, obviously, but to also move them off of that land due to, even the recent fire that we just had out of close to Oslo and 20. So that's a concern. So I was just kind of looking, what are the facilities, organizations that I would contact to get in contact with the homeless, rather than be going out there by myself, because you don't really know what the situation is.
Sure.
So I'm assuming I would contact either one of those, either the source or the police department.
Yeah, well, if you want to afterwards.
Yeah, well, I can.
Yeah, we can submit that.
The Treasure Coast Coalition for the Homeless
Yes, is that
is a huge organization. But during the picture, there are not enough beds for all the homeless people in our Tri-County area. They estimate 2,000 people every night are homeless. And I think total beds may be 200. So it's the old supply and demand, right? But this Treasure Coast Coalition for the Homeless is a terrific resource. They may be helpful in addition to these gentlemen's resources as well. Go ahead.
Hi.
Finally, I'm back.
Good evening. I'm going to provide us an update on the status of the audits, the overdue financial audits. And is the city at any risk of losing additional or incurring additional penalties in addition to what is already incurred?
Certainly. We have the auditors in-house. I got an update from them today that we are on target to submit the 23-24 audit by September 30th. So if we do that, we will not be in any jeopardy of losing any revenue. Last year, this 22-23 audit was just submitted in May. We did lose 1 month of local option pass-through sales tax, $130,000. We were able to recover $100,000 of that through some insurance coverage that we had. So it's an unfortunate situation that we had. We've taken corrective actions to keep it from happening again. And nobody looks more forward to September 30th than me, than to get the audit submitted with budget for this year adopted and to get back to some normal operations in the finance department. Thank you for your question.
I have a two-part question. Number one, what is the city's position on renewable energy for some of these large projects, right? When it comes to solar development for rooftops to offset the grid power that's going to be going into, like, for example, Three Corners, the downtown projects, the marina. And number two, for ClearPath, going back to Three Corners, as far as the funding goes, is there an issue with them requiring funding currently? And that's almost what it sounded like to me. That's just very curious on your thoughts on that.
Well, let's start with the second one first, with the funding. They have a certain amount of time to provide us with all that information during the pre-negotiation phase that we're in right now. They are working on that. And as I said earlier, there should be a joint venture announcement really soon that will take care of that. Renewable energy for Three Corners, if the developer thinks this is something that he wants to consider, that would be their decision to make. Subsidies for solar are out there right now. Without the subsidies, solar doesn't. The juice doesn't make it. Sure. So, okay, yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, so do we want to give the military a crack?
Sure.
Sure.
So
That's the famous.
what would you like to discuss about the month?
We have a very low millage rate.
So we have to,
Do you all know what the military is?
okay,
Okay,
you should have been here.
it's 2.77 per thousand.
2.7 right now, we'll round it up.
Per thousand, right? And now you're debating whether or not to notch it up a little bit.
To 2.9.
2.9. And it would cost everybody $54 roughly.
For a $500,000 house value.
So, okay,
So,
So our budget is, and then we talked about this the last time, about a third of our budget comes from property taxes. Our budget is 35 million-ish, and about 12 of that comes from property taxes. It's really the only thing that we control in what we get from property tax, or in our total revenue. We get state revenue sharing, we get money from utility taxes, from franchise fees, from utilities, but the lion's share is from the property tax. And in perspective, what we take in property tax pretty much equals our budget of our police department. So if you think about that's what it pays for in the whole operation of the city. Yes, we are asking for a small increase in the village this year to allow us to do a couple things that were really important. We had frozen some positions. We had frozen some positions in the police department and public works department. What we're asking for will allow us to hire those back. We've also been asked by the community to add some additional police officers, 2 more police officers. And then we as staff need 3 additional people in public works. That is the main focus that we're looking for in the requested increase. There's some other things that we're still looking at, but to me, that's the most important, is to fill those vacancies that we had and to get those couple new police officers that the community has asked for, and to add some extra support in our public works staff.
I know you said the millage rate is low. I think I read we're like of 67 counties, we have the 7th lowest
we have,
millage rate in the state of Florida, something like
The county's low, and then of the 450 municipalities, we're in the bottom third.
Okay, all right. So just leave your dollars, speak the story.
In contrast,
That's the
in
thing.
contrast, Stewart, just down the road from us,
Right.
great city.
Yeah.
They're
that's fine.
Oh, yeah.
Close.
Fort Pierce is
And Sebastian's gonna be at about
5, I think.
3.5.
And I think Fort Pierce is 6.9 and we're 2.7. Right. And of course, St. Lucy's 5-ish, right? So, yeah, I mean, it's a big difference.
5.4.